everyone, I am your astrologer Wonder Girl, taking you to new heights. Here is your special report for the new moon in Taurus happening on May 15th, 2018 at 5:48 a.m. Mountain Time. Alright, this new moon, as I did say, it was in Taurus, is happening right here at 24 degrees. And I think what this new moon is all about really is bringing more stability, more confidence, more security in our lives. I've been saying that for a while, that's where the trend is going towards, making less changes here and doing more of the things that you really want and value and moving forward on those in a more stable way, okay? So that's what I see this new moon being about, okay? A main reason why I see it being about confidence, security, and stability, of course, is because that is what Taurus is all about, okay? Taurus is also a fixed sign, so it likes to pick something that it values, especially because Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus rules our values, so Taurus likes to pick something that it values and to move forward on it. Because Taurus is also an earth sign, it likes to move forward on it in more of a stable way, more of a practical way, to bring more into its life or into your life, the things that are important to you, and to move forward on it in a better way where things aren't changing all the time. Okay, so that to me is what's going on here. This new moon is happening the last 10 degrees of Taurus, which makes it a Saturn ruled decan. Okay, so it's not just about bringing things into our life that we value and moving forward on it in a steady and stable way, but also thinking long term here. Where things are going. What is the ultimate outcome of all my actions? How can I make sure that I'm doing the things that I really like and value that can stay with me long term? Saturn, also here, a planet of hard work. Okay, we'll put in the hard work. If this is what I value, if this is what's important to me, I will work in this last decan here of Taurus to make it manifest, even if it means I have to make sacrifices with Saturn, even if it means I have to make hard choices to do the things I don't want to do. Taurus here at the last decan and Saturn will make the hard choices to ultimately put in place and live the things that it values, even if it has to sacrifice things short term in order to get to the long term outcome. Okay, so I think that's a lot of what's going on here at this new moon. Also, just to give you some information, I did look up the Sabian symbol in the inside degrees, and the Sabian symbol for 24 degrees Taurus is one of differentiation, differentiating yourself from the pack. I like that because Taurus to me is the sign of confidence. You always hear me say that when I talk about Taurus. Confidence in your own abilities, especially, that comes in since Taurus rules your gifts and your talents. And I think what we're trying to do here is not only create a life that we value and to work towards it, but to also create a life where we stand apart as an individual for our unique self, for who it is that we are, especially with Uranus involved, which I'll talk about in a second. So I think that's what we're trying to do here, is to separate ourselves from everyone else, to live a life that we feel uniquely suits us and who we are, and to move forward on that and to differentiate ourselves from everyone else, and even from the past, even from an old life, so that we can move into something else that more resonates with us, okay? So I think that's coming on there. That was the Sabian symbol. The inside degree, too, is also one of being very busy. Being very busy with this degree here in Taurus, having lots to do. If it's not busy work, feeling like there's so many pieces, maybe it's responsibility. I like that because, as I mentioned, this is the Saturn-ruled decan of Taurus, so we could feel like there's a weight weighing on us. A lot of stuff we have to do here in order to put our life in that place that we want, in order to live a life that we feel more confident in, stable and secure here. Okay, maybe lots of hard work in order to ultimately create a life where we feel different, unique, living in our lane here in a way that can really last coming in. And Saturn here of the last decan of Taurus requiring determination and hard work in order for you to ultimately get the things that you want. All right, so that to me, if we want to talk about Taurus 24 degrees, is what this new moon is all about. Okay, just to recap, creating more of a life that you feel more unique in, more free to be yourself uniquely, that you feel more confident in, and really moving forward on that unique identity in a more stable and secure way, living a life that you value that can stand the test of time. All right. Now, the thing that makes this interesting, this new moon, is that while we have a new moon in the sign of stability, we've got Uranus involved in a big way, with Uranus here at the last degree of Aries, where it will move into Taurus a few hours after this new moon. So the new moon's at 5:48 a.m. Mountain Time. Uranus will move into Taurus at 9:18 a.m. Mountain Time the same day. Okay, and to me, Uranus doesn't like being in Taurus. It's in fall in Taurus, where it's not in a good spot. Okay, and this brings like a little bit, what do you call this? Like an oxymoron, a dichotomy of sorts, where we've got this like powerful new moon. I think this is a big new moon with a lot of stuff going on here, coming in, really wanting confidence, security, doing the things that are important to you, sticking with things long term that you value. And then you've got Uranus here, which is all about the unexpected surprise, the upset, turning things upside down, turning things on its head. And so it's like a weird kind of new moon where it's like we want security, we want to feel better about our life, but there are crazy things happening out of the blue, out of nowhere. People doing unexpected things to you, you doing unexpected things to people. Maybe as well with Uranus, some kind of nervous energy as well, with Uranus here at 29 degrees. Considering Uranus only changes signs every 8 years, and it just happens to be now at this new moon. And Uranus doesn't always change signs on a new moon, and not into the sign that the new moon is in, which again also makes this kind of unique, okay? And I think what's going on to synthesize why these two seemingly opposite things are happening is that we are realizing here that we can't keep changing our life to the extent that we have been changing it since the beginning of this year, and since Saturn was in Sagittarius, a mutable sign. I think we're realizing we need more semblance of stability. We need to start living more of a life that we want. But I think Uranus here is saying, okay, if you're going to commit to something long term, Saturn ruled deacon, Taurus, fixed sign, you need to make sure it's right for you. You need to make sure it's good for you. You need to make sure that you feel the most free and the most liberated with this life you are creating and now stepping into. Because Uranus is saying if you don't make sure that you get that at this new moon, then you may find down the road that you don't like the life that you have agreed to, that you have now committed to, that you have now stepped into in a more, stable way. You may want to get out of it later. And I think Uranus is saying, while you're trying to create now a different life, change your life with a bunch of Pluto stuff going on the beginning of this year, now is the time to make sure this life you are stepping into is a life you really want, that really resonates with you, that you don't mind dealing with for quite some time. Okay, Uranus as well is a forward-thinking sign. Uranus is about the future, your goals and dreams and your aspirations. Uranus to me also rules the heavens, the sky. So it's about getting the higher perspective, the bird's eye view, seeing things way in the future. Okay, especially with Saturn too, is very long-term thinking. So it's not just about what do I need right now to bring me stability in the moment. It's also about what is the life I ultimately want to create. How can I bring stability into my life in the long term, even if I have to sacrifice some of that stability in the short term to make sure I am committing to something that will ultimately be good for me that I like, okay? So I think that's what's coming in, and we're really trying to envision the future that we want and how we can create it and to start to bring it more into existence in a really, really big way at this new moon, okay? Yeah, so I think that's what it is, kind of an oxymoron. We want stability and security, but before we can get the stability and the security, the Uranus-Saturn influence is saying, look, you need to make sure that before the stability and security comes, that you're building the foundation that you ultimately are going to stay with for a while on the most authentic, true foundation that's unique to you, that really does inspire you and that you don't mind like making a future out of, okay? So that's what's going on. I might like that combination, in all honesty, to make this a very liberating full new moon for you, or for us, really, with these two things together, giving you a chance to really start to create a life in a more stable way based on your own uniqueness, your own unique identity, your goals and your dreams for the future. And I would think this new moon would be very inspiring in that sense. But some difficulty comes in with Uranus in a square to Mars, okay? I'll draw this on the chart. Here's Mars. Matter of fact, at this new moon, which this chart is for, Uranus and Mars are going to be in an exact square. Mars adds pressure to Uranus. It restricts Uranus a little bit. Squares restrict Uranus. So we have this big new beginning, this big new moon I think we've been waiting for, because there's been so many changes going on in our life where we're finally like, yes, There's more of an idea of who we are, of what we want, of where our life is going, and it's time to really commit to that. But Mars in a square with Uranus is maybe making us feel restricted in some ways, maybe making us feel like, are you really sure this is what you want? Are you really sure you have as much freedom as you possibly need? Okay, and I think Mars as well in a square with Uranus is putting the pressure on. If your life isn't the best you want it to be right now, if you don't want to commit to this long term, how can you ultimately create that? And with Mars and Uranus, maybe we're getting nervous. Uranus, I think, rules our nervous system. Maybe we're getting nervous that we're going to be locked into something that we don't really care about, or nervous that we're going to get locked into something that we don't really want for the long haul. Okay, which I think is a valid concern coming in. We could also be feeling caged in too. You know, oh, if this is what I really want, there's this thing stopping me from ultimately doing what I see for my future, what I really want coming in. And I think there could be a lot of people here acting out, you yourself acting out to make sure that you get everything in that you want to get in at this time, at this new moon, so that it can stick with you. All right, I think that's what's going on here. Some frustrations, feeling caged in, wanting to act out, other people acting out, unexpected things coming out of the blue here, and needing to just be aware of that people may do a bunch of that stuff, unexpected stuff, to fit it all in so they can feel the most free moving forward. Okay, another thing that's super interesting about this as well, this alignment here, is that Mars is entering its shadow period. It actually entered it at 28 degrees. I think it was a few days ago, as it's coming into this square. And I think that's giving Mars less power in this situation, because Mars is getting ready to go retrograde. And not in the next few weeks. I think it's going to happen in like the end of June, July, August. Like Mars is going to be in a weird spot, not a powerful spot. That's what I'm trying to say. Mars is not going to be powerful right now at this new moon and for the next few months, because it's going to be going retrograde and it's going to meet the South Node. So not only are we feeling frustrated at this new moon here, or maybe feeling pressured to make sure that we are giving ourselves the best grounding, the best like foundation of which to create a life and stick with that we really like, but we may also not be too concerned about some of the structures in our life that are going on, because Mars is in Capricorn here and Mars is weak, and with Uranus holding the power, especially being at 29 degrees, the super intense degree of Aries, of a Mars ruled sign, Uranus is saying, you know what, I'm just going to throw everything to the wind. This is my last chance to do what I want and need. Who cares if it messes Mars and Capricorn up, the structures of my life? I'm just going to do the things that I want. And of course, Mars and Capricorn knows that it's going to be back here 2-3 months from now to fix all of the damage that may have occurred. Okay, so I think there's some stuff that could go on there where we're really trying to break free. Uranus is ruling the show here, do a bunch of unexpected things to give ourselves the best spot possible from which to grow, to build, and to manifest the things in life that are important. Okay, now with this alignment coming in, even though I do recommend creating the most authentic identity for yourself and really beginning to hone in on the things that you value and to express what it is that you need, especially with Mercury coming over this spot. I think it's important for you to express your authentic desires, needs, visions for the future, to bring those out into the open and to live them. But I do just want to say, especially with Mars coming back, some of the things that you do now can be a big issue for the next 3 months at least, maybe for the next 8 years with Uranus here, and needing to make sure that if you do something unexpected at this time, that you are not going to be afraid to deal with the fallout that may occur later on. Okay, because Mars is going to ask us to revisit some of the things that we're doing now. All right, I also may caution with the square here and with Mars to be careful. If you do anything unexpected, it may shock some people. Some people may not be very happy with what comes up, and to just be aware of that if you do something unexpected, or to do the best that you can to soften the blow so that things don't have to be harder for you than they would be otherwise. All right. And I think that's what's going on here, is that we really want to create the best life for us that we feel uniquely ourselves in, very confident in, even if it upsets some other things in our life, where we see our life going, what we want for our life, the direction of our life, even if it upsets our career, our reputation. I think we're kind of throwing those things to the wind so that we can do more of what we want here, and needing to do that to a certain extent, but needing to also minimize the damage if you can, or be prepared to deal with some of that in the coming weeks and months. All right, so that's what I'll say there with that alignment. While that's happening, this new moon, we also do have the sun and moon in a trine with Pluto and Mars, the midpoint, as well. So not only are we trying to break free from an old life, Uranus doesn't like tradition, to create more of a life that's authentically us, that we can build on in a more steady and stable way moving forward, even if it upsets some of our old plans, some of our career, our reputation, some other things going on in our life coming in. I think we may also be making some more changes to our life direction here so that we can move forward. Okay, so yeah, I just think that's a big thing coming in with the Mars being weak, the trine to Pluto, is that we are really doing what we can to be authentically ourselves, even if we're throwing everything else in disarray. And it's fine. Sometimes disarray is needed, chaos is needed in order to bring stability coming in, and that being important, but just making sure that you're doing it in the right ways that you really value as you break free, in case you have to deal with some things later. Yeah, I'll leave that there. And we may be changing our career, changing our reputation, changing where our life is going, and so that we can feel more free to be the person we want to be, that we've been trying to be, that really resonates with us. Yes, I will say that. Two other things I want to mention about this moon. Even though, right, I think the things we're doing are going to be good if we break free, because it's going to be here in a sextile with Chiron. So if we break free from things, change our reputation, going to be good, even if it may cause some more problems to be addressed later. But another thing, sorry, going back and forth here, I wanted to address is also Venus in Gemini at this moon. Venus is the ruler of this new moon, because Taurus, the new moon's in Taurus. Taurus is a Venus-ruled sign. Okay, so Venus is the ruler of this new moon here coming in. Venus is in Gemini. So at this new moon, there may be lots of communication going on about you, what you value, about some of your plans, about what you need to feel unique and more authentically yourself. The problem with this, though, is that Venus is not making any aspects. Look at it. There's no lines here from Venus. Okay, normally when a planet does not make any aspects, this to me makes problems for us integrating it into the rest of the chart. You know, it's like we may be feeling this, communicating about what's important to us, about who we are, but because it doesn't make any aspects, it doesn't integrate into the rest of the story going on. And so I think what's happening here, especially since Venus rules relationships and rules money, is that we are trying to get what we want, what works for us. And maybe it's hard for us to talk to the other people in our life about what's going on, or maybe we're talking about it and it's not registering with the other people, or things are going wrong with the conversations that we're having with our relationships, or about money. We're doing a lot of talking here. Oh, this is what I want, this is what I value, this is uniquely me. And with Mercury just coming over Uranus, maybe surprising some things with our conversations, but for some reason it not settling in our conversations and not registering with people yet. Maybe we're not even feeling comfortable yet with the realizations that have come, or not knowing how to finance some of the things that have come up here that could be difficult at this new moon. And I think Venus not making any aspects, saying you can work with people, you can bring people on board, you can figure out your finances, you can feel more comfortable with all of this, but it may take some time for all of that to come together, for people to get on board with you, for you to feel right about some of the things that come up at this new moon. All right, another thing that's interesting too is we do have Saturn in Capricorn while all this crazy stuff is going down in Capricorn, in a quincunx here with the North Node. And Saturn in Capricorn is all about where your life is going, and we're changing where life is going in a very big way, I think, making some big decisions that could upset some things in our life. And with the quincunx to the North Node saying you have to find a way to take these big changes, maybe these big unexpected things, and where your life is going. Even if it brings some questions up about where your life is going, so that you can do more of what really makes you feel free, coming in, needing to figure out how to take all of this big stuff going on, changes in your life direction and what's happening, and to start to be happy with it. okay, and to do more of what you love and enjoy and to move forward. And it could feel hard to get the enjoyment, especially with Venus not making any aspects at this time when so many unexpected things are coming up, when we're thinking so seriously about long term, when there's so many things to do. And I think this aspect as well, the quincunx of the North Node, says you got to find a way to be happy amidst this change, to be happy amidst this responsibility, amidst this restriction, amidst this unexpected thing here. You have to figure out how to take all of that and to move it forward in a way that you really enjoy, even if it takes some time. And even especially with quincunxes, if you have to do things differently, especially with Mars retrograde, even if you have to do things differently, rearrange some things and think about this situation in an entirely different way in order for you to finally start to feel like you're moving forward, living a life that it is that you want with everything that has come up. All right. With Mercury and Taurus, I think we're thinking more about stability, how we can be more stable in our life coming in. Okay, but I think it's just going to take some time with it just coming off of Uranus. All right. So I think that's what I'm going to leave here for you with this new moon. I know that was a lot, but this new moon to me is a major one. It's an intense one. Uranus changing signs. That does not happen that often. It happens once every 8 years. I think I mentioned this earlier. It does not always happen on a new moon. And so that's why this new moon is going to be a big one. We're trying to break free to be ourselves the most authentically we can be before we have to commit to it. And I think we're feeling anxious, we're feeling rushed, we're feeling frustrated to make sure that we get everything in. And I think needing to get everything in at this time, even if it means you surprise people in some unexpected ways, but maybe trying to ease the blow if you can to not make it any worse than it has to be. With Venus not making any aspects, again, recapping here, maybe needing to be patient if people don't understand quite what's going on, or if you yourself, if it doesn't quite sink in yet, and really needing to rearrange and readjust the way that you think about your life and where you thought it was going, and how you move forward on some of those things so that you can start to be happy about it, if not now, then later. All right? So that's what I'll leave for you. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this new moon for each of the signs and talk about that. I'll pull a card for each sign, talk about the decan, the degrees, maybe give some activities for each sign as well if you are interested in doing some kind of activity for the new moon. Okay, so that's what I'll do there. If you want to purchase that, you can purchase it at the link down below in my description box, where you can get access in one long video to all 12 signs. Okay, so that's what I've got there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later.